If your friends are still using ERA to tell you if a pitcher is good, they're stuck in 1995. ERA is a lying stat. It rewards pitchers who have elite defenses behind them and punishes pitchers who run into some bad luck. Today, I'm going to go over 5 advanced pitching analytics that you should be looking at, which separate the lucky pitchers from the elite ones. Hopefully by the end of this, you can see how a guy with a higher ERA is more elite than one who has a lower ERA. By the end of this, you should hopefully be able to see how a pitcher with a higher ERA might be better and have dominant stuff compared to one who has a lower ERA but has been getting lucky. The first one is called FIP, Field Independent Pitching. This is a clean alternative to ERA because it factors all the things a pitcher can control. For example, strikes, walks, hit by pitches, and home runs. The lower the FIP, the better. Around 4 is league average, so anything under 4 is better than league average. Under 3, we're getting into elite territory. Now, the one thing about FIP is it may slightly favor guys who have high strikeouts, low walks, which is also another good stat you'd want to look at. I mean, you would want a pitcher who throws gas, gets a lot of strikes, and doesn't walk a lot of people. So these are last year's leaderboards, and I organized it by field independent pitching. You can see here Paul Skeens had the best FIP and a very low ERA. I mean, that is exactly what you want to see from your starter. Pretty much the FIP leaders here are all elite guys. I mean, the top 2 are the Cy Young winners. Christopher Sanchez, I'm pretty sure, was second in Cy Young voting. Logan Webb. Now here's a perfect example of someone who had high ERA, but maybe got unlucky. Now, if we organize this by ERA, there are some guys here who had a lower ERA than Logan Webb here, but their FIP was a lot higher. Matthew Boyd, Gavin Williams, Andrew Abbott. These guys, don't get me wrong, were good and had low ERA for the year, but I would much rather have Logan Webb on my team than those guys. The one thing I like about this is that if you see a pitcher who has a higher ERA than he does FIP, he's probably due for some positive regression. And if he has a higher FIP than ERA, odds are he's going to regress back down to that mean and start giving up a couple more runs. The next stat I want to get into, which kind of goes hand in hand with FIP, is SIERA. SIERA is Skill Interactive ERA. It pretty much factors the same things FIP does, but it also factors in batted balls. Now, this helps really find out what type of quality of contact pitchers are giving up. If they're giving up a ton of ground balls, that's kind of what you look for in a reliever. So you want some that can get the strikeouts, yes, of course, but also in a situation where you need a ground ball, you would also like a pitcher who can produce that rather than a hard hit line drive. SIERA kind of factors that in. That's why I think both of these go hand in hand. And if we go back to that chart and I organize by SIERA here, oops, wrong way. Again, we see some similar names up top. So that is kind of what you expect to see. If they have a high FIP or a low FIP, they'll probably have low SIERA as well. And these guys, Yoshinobu makes his way up here in the top 10. Sonny Gray is up here. He's an old vet, so he's probably good at inducing ground balls, which is probably why he gets rewarded in the SIERA category here. He's another candidate who had high ERA and low FIP, so this year he might be a little bit better than these numbers that were here last year. Both of these stats are better predictors of future ERA. Need not to worry when you see your favorite pitcher struggling. If those underlying numbers look good, just give it some time, and I'm sure it'll even out. Another metric I like to look at when looking at pitchers and seeing if they truly have that it factor or are they just getting lucky is the called strike and whiff percentage. Now, this one is a pretty simple formula. It's called strikes plus whiffs divided by total pitches thrown, and you get a percentage number off that, or times 100, and you'll get a percentage number off that. Around 30% is good. 32% and up is considered elite. This is kind of a new stat. It was made by some guy from Pitcher List, I believe. And if we look at those stats and those leaderboards from last year, again, we see some similar names up top. These guys are truly dominant. This is from TJ Stats, and the other one was from Fangraphs. These guys are elite. And just an example of a pitcher with low ERA who may have been getting lucky here is Andrew Abbott. Not to directly call him out or anything, but Andrew Abbott had a high FIP and high SIERA. And if we look here, I am still scrolling and not finding. He's down here. 28.1% called strike plus whiff rate. Again, he had good numbers last year, but I'm very interested to see if he can repeat that this year or if all these underlying metrics are going to catch up and he will underperform. This is just another one, I think, if you want to see if a pitcher has good stuff, if he can get strikes, which is something you look for in a pitcher, it's this percentage. Another group of stats that I like to look at for pitchers is the expected stats. So a lot of xFIP, xERA, x batting average, things like that. Now I know some old heads don't really like expected stats because that's not what happened. And I know a lot of people would rather have results on the field than the best expected stats ever. Now, I completely understand that. But expected stats kind of expose bad luck, highlight overperformances, and spot sustainable successes for pitchers. For example, if batters have a 210 expected batting average off a guy, but are actually batting around 290, odds are that's going to come down. And again, you'll see a pitcher succeed a little bit more. If we look back at the expected stats for some of these pitchers, here's just Scooble at the top. I think he's just automatically here because of his WAR. But if we look at his FIP and expected FIP, they're very close. This is kind of like what you expect to see after the course of a year. I mean, he threw 195 pitches. But Skeens here, he had a FIP of 236 and an expected FIP of 303. So had the season gone on longer, he might have had some outings that would have led to a higher FIP and had these closer together. But a lot of these guys have a really close FIP and xFIP, which is kind of what you normally see. Same with ERA and expected ERA. Again, this makes me believe that Skeens was just out of his mind last year, and his ERA may have been due to a little bit of luck. Maybe he had a good defense during some games, but you would expect the ERA to come up a little bit to match this. So I know expected stats aren't heavily favored by players because they just rather have the results on the field rather than the best underlying metrics ever. But as a fan and rooting for some guys, I like seeing, hey, they're currently not performing to their expected stats, and that will correct itself by the end of the season. And lastly, this last stat was made popular, and I'm pretty sure he created it, was xERA from The Athletic. I highly suggest you guys follow him wherever you can. He is a very, very smart guy, way smarter than me, and he knows his stuff, and he created this. This one is Stuff Plus. It's pretty new, and it measures the raw pitch quality. So it doesn't really account for what happened, what the results, what the ERA is. It doesn't account for any of that. It just accounts for how good is this pitch specifically. How fast is it? What's the movement on it? It combines all those variables and just describes how good is that pitch. In fact, every major league team has their own Stuff Plus model. That is not, we don't know what it is. Fangraphs has their own. Baseball Savant has their own. TJ Stats has his own. xERA has his own. It's truly whatever those teams value more can change the Stuff Plus from pitcher to pitcher. So let's look at more graphs. Here, overall, the best Stuff Plus, lo and behold, Scooble. He just reigns supreme at every single one of these leaderboards. But next it's Christopher Sanchez. So this, if you just want to see who has the best fastball in the MLB off Stuff, which again is modeled based on the speed, the spin, the pitch movement, the release metrics, this is it. Now this is based on 100 scale. 100 is league average. 110 is nasty. 115, pretty much the best stuff in the league. You know, these three guys had best fastballs in all of baseball last year. Stuff Plus is starting to be a little bit predictive and just tell us how good a pitcher's arsenal is overall. But a couple of interesting guys here. Ryan Pepio, former Dodger and now current Ray, has, a very strong nasty fastball. Now, I think maybe the Rays and the Dodgers have similar stuff models just because they usually pick up the same pitchers, Glasnow, Pepio, Yarbrough, players like that. Let's see who had the best sinker. Kevin Gossman. And then Scooble, of course, is on there. Fried, Skeens. This is just, if you want to see who has the best pitch overall, this is a pretty interesting stat. Now, it still matters what they do with it. You could have the best changeup, but if you leave it middle, odds are it's leaving the ballpark. But let's look at the best changeup, Jose Soriano. And of course, Tarek Skubal. He just has the best everything, and he's the best ever, apparently. Another popular pitch that I like to look at is the splitter. And of course, Skubal is at the top. I am not surprised. So like I said, Stuff Plus pretty much tells us how good a pitcher's arsenal is, and the fact that Tarek Skubal is here at 123 overall tells us he's the nastiest pitcher right now. But it's interesting to see that the Rays have 2 top 15 pitchers in this Stuff Plus model. They clearly know what they're doing and have their own thing going on. Another thing about Stuff Plus is that pitchers still have to be pitchers. For example, Yoshinobu only had 100 Stuff Plus. That's league average. That means his pitch quality on his pitches is league average, but his location is above league average. So that also matters. How nasty is their stuff and how good can they locate it? And I think that's what makes Yoshinobu so good, is that, yeah, his stuff isn't really flying off the screen nasty, but his location is elite. I haven't really dived into this pitching plus statistic. I don't really know what this accounts for. Maybe Stuff Plus with location plus combo. I'm not sure how they get to 124 based off these two, but this is probably a good stat to go off too. If you're already on Fangraphs, you can just sort by stuff or just sort by pitching plus overall. But those are the 5 advanced analytics that I like to look at when looking through some pitchers. Maybe you guys can make some predictions on your favorite pitchers and see if they come true or not based on the expected stats, the FIP, the SIERA, things like that. I know I like to do that, so if you guys also like to do that, hope you enjoyed it and you left with a little bit of more knowledge on advanced stats than before. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you.